How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by PetSmart. Stop by for Yappy Hour with your pet at PetSmart. Save $5 on walk-in grooming services like nail trims, ear cleaning, brushing, and more. No appointment needed every weekday from 2 to 6 p.m. And while you're there, Yappy Hour includes exclusive in-store deals like 25% off pet toys. Visit services.petsmart.com/grooming to learn more.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Is anyone out there?
Another salesperson enduring the endless search. Exhausting. If you want to get right to the right conversations, you need LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Whether you're looking for new leads or strengthening existing relationships at your top accounts, get right to the right conversations with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Try LinkedIn Sales Navigator now with a free 60-day trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial.
Terms and conditions apply!
Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to episode number 737 of the Duke Basketball Roundup. We are back in your feed because there was a second round of the NBA draft. And for all transparency here, there's like 4 picks left in this draft. But the 2 guys that we came to hopefully hear their names called were called. And so me, Donald Wine, Jason Evans right here. We're going to talk about it, right, Jason? But Jason, first off, we're doing this late on Thursday night because we couldn't do it Friday. Do you want to tell the people what's up for the weekend for you?
Yeah, headed to Disney, headed to Walt Disney World in Orlando. Going to have a weekend of riding interesting new rides and stuff like that. My son, who works for Disney, is about to leave the company. He's going to move over to Netflix. He has a different job at Netflix now. And so this is his last weekend with park privileges. Employees get to bring guests into the park, and so we are taking advantage. Yeah, so I'm headed to the Mouse House for the weekend.
If you see a big, tall, like duck-looking thing, name is Donald. Tell him said what's up. Tell him he owes me a call. That's my cousin there. But have a great time down at Disney. Hope you get to do all the rides. It's expanded quite a bit, I'm sure, since the last time you were there. So there's probably some new stuff for you.
Yeah, we're looking for it. The new stuff is what my wife has sketched out each park, which there are 2 rides at each park that we're going to check out. We're doing nothing else.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you got to have the
Fast Pass, Lightning Lane,
pass,
baby.
But also the Lightning Lane. But also you got to have the strategy. Like, hey, we're going to start here because the line here is shorter. And we're going to go over here. It's a science. Also, if you go to Epcot, don't drink around the world. It's too hot for that. That'll take you some time. I do know Orlando SWAT via a former women's national team player, but I don't recommend that you call me to make
there's a story there. Yeah. Okay, folks, we're not going to talk about the draft. I was going to tell this story about the Orlando SWAT team.
Look up Alex Morgan and Orlando SWAT, and that you will get all the information right there. I was not there, but I promise you will wish you were at that point. All right, enough about Orlando SWAT and Epcot. Jason, have a great time at Disney. Let's talk about the second round of the NBA draft. And Jason, we opined that we weren't going to wait long to hear one of our guys hear their names being called. What we were surprised about is that 3 picks into the draft with the 33rd pick going to Charlotte Hornets is Sion James, who we pegged to be a little bit later in the draft, maybe sweating out the late 40s, early 50s. But man, what a shock to get him in Charlotte. He will obviously join Con Knipple, Seth Curry, Wendell Moore Jr. is there. There's a whole lot of Dukies there.
Charlotte loaded up on wings in the draft. It's a really interesting situation for them. Obviously, they picked Khan. Then toward the end of the first round, they took Liam McNeely, who was Cooper Flagg's teammate in high school, played for UConn last year. By the way, they asked Liam McNeely about having all his teammates, him and Derek Queen and Cooper Flagg and Asa Newell, having all those high school teammates of his drafted in the first round, and he broke down, started crying. It was really a beautiful kind of moment.
The only guy of that starting five from that high school team that didn't get drafted is Robert Wright III, who just got a big NIL payday to go to BYU. So he's doing okay.
He's getting $3 million plus at BYU.
Yeah, the other four drafted in the first round of the NBA draft. Incredible. Talk about Sion James though. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say my point is about Charlotte that I would not have pegged them necessarily with the 33rd pick to go after Sion James. They had the 33rd and 34th, and with the 34th, they took Ryan Kalkenbrenner, which makes perfect sense because they traded away their big men. They traded away both Kamen Malawach and Mark Williams just yesterday. So now they have they needed a big man, and they went out and got Ryan Kalkenbrenner. But I want to talk about Sion for a second. The fact that they drafted a couple other wings and then went ahead and drafted him with the 33rd, at least 10 picks higher than anyone really was projecting Sion. It shows you how much this Charlotte team wanted Sion James and how much they think he is a great fit in the NBA. And from a financial standpoint, I think this year you're probably going to see guys who go outside of about pick number 40 for the most part. And we're going to talk about Tyrese Proctor in a minute. But for the most part, guys who go after about pick number 40 are not going to get guaranteed deals. You're mostly going to be on two-way contracts at that point. Two-way contract pays you about $700,000. Good money, but not unbelievable money. And it is not guaranteed. A team can cut you. If you're not working out, a team can just go, all right, we're done. And they cut you, and you don't make that $700,000 for the rest of the year. By going in the first 5, 7, 10 picks of the second round, and for Sion, the third pick of the second round, you're getting a guaranteed contract. In fact, you're probably getting a 2-year deal right around $3 million total. 1.4 first year, like 1.6 the second year. They're mandatory minimums that come with these contracts. But Sion, to go from a likely 2-way contract to a guaranteed 2-year, maybe even 3 years guaranteed. Certainly there'll be probably a team option in year 3 or year 4. It's just a huge amount of money and a huge investment by the Charlotte Hornets in his development and in him as a player. It's so great for him. Donald, did you see the video?
Yeah.
Have you seen? Sion was having a party. There were
bottles, baby.
There were 60 people there at least. Chris Carrawell was there. Sewell was there, celebrating with Sion. My bet is that was happening just north of Atlanta because that's where Sion's from. I don't know. I didn't recognize the club, but I'm like, I bet this was nearby. If I knew he was doing it, I would have gone by to say hi to my man. But it looked like just a rockin' good time. And the moment where they call his name with the 33rd pick, I think everyone was a little surprised that he went that early. But man, it was just great stuff and a huge reward for a guy who, even though he was only at Duke for 1 year, the number of people who were like, that's my man, that's my favorite player, that's the guy I love the most. It's kind of incredible how much Sion impacted the fan base and the team in 1 year at Durham.
It's funny. We are surprised, but we shouldn't be surprised that the closest professional basketball team to Durham happened to pick the Blue Devil. That was kind of that unheralded guy coming in, wasn't projected to be a starter when he got to Duke, but worked his way onto the team and became one of the most indispensable players that we had. The fact that he worked his way into the starting lineup, he was there most of the year, and I think lost twice as a starter. It shows the pedigree that he has. It shows the incredible improvement that he had. we've yapped on and on about his foundation, his charity work. He gets to continue that. Maybe gets to extend it down the road a little bit. And Jason, I know this for a fact. If you are a Charlotte Hornets fan who also is a fan of the University of North Carolina, you are calling in sick tomorrow. You are on the floor sick at the fact that of the three picks that they had, the first 33 picks of the draft, they draft two Blue Devils who destroyed your college team all year long. I know they're sick about that, but I think again Charlotte wants to win. They are trying to. We talked about this last night with Con Knipple. They want that pedigree of losing to be over. And what do? You call in the guys who are super competitive, the guys who want to win, and the guys who know how to win. You have the Liam McNeelys, you have the Con Knipples, and now you have Sion James, the guy who can bring all of that together and again play any role that you peg him to be, and is going to work his butt off to get to a point where he feels like he can be at his max potential. I'm so happy that he got this pick and so happy that he's going to be living out his dream just down the road in Charlotte.
All right, so two things. First one is, I guarantee you that the Charlotte Hornets spoke to Con Knipple about the possibility of drafting Sion James, and that Con gave them probably an unbelievably glowing scouting report on Sion and what he means in a locker room and the competitive fire that he brings to the floor and the way he disrupts the other team with his defense. Like, it's very interesting. Jay Billis had a great comment about Sion when he was drafted. Jay said on ESPN, he said, Sion's not the kind of defender that's going to go out and get you 3 or 4 steals in a game. But what he's going to do is the guy he's guarding, the guy he's up against, that guy's going to have a bad game.
Yeah, he's going to shoot 20%. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's just going to struggle that whole night. And a guy who has that kind of ability, that is worth something in the NBA. But the second thing I wanted to bring up, Donald, got a little quiz for you. Do you know what NBA franchise has drafted the most Dookies all time?
The most Blue Devils all time?
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably leaning me towards the Charlotte Hornets, so I'll just go with the Charlotte Hornets.
Incorrect. It is your Detroit Pistons, believe it or not.
How?
Detroit. Yes.
In my lifetime?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but it's all time. So Detroit has drafted 9 different Blue Devils.
Well, we did. I mean, like the 90s, we had Grant Hill. I think Johnny Dawkins. We had Christian Laettner.
Well, you didn't
time,
draft Johnny Dawkins.
Yeah. I don't think we drafted Laettner either. But we just had him on the team. But to draft him, wow.
Yep. Detroit
Kyle
is number
Singler.
1
We
with
drafted
9.
Kyle Singler. I remember that.
That's one. Yeah. Detroit's number 1 with 9. Chicago has drafted 7 Dookies. And then there are 3 teams tied in third place with 6 Duke draftees all time. They are the Golden State Warriors, the Boston Celtics, and after tonight, the Charlotte Hornets, who have now drafted 6 Dookies all time to move into a tie for third place on the most drafting teams. By the way, Atlanta, New York, and Dallas are next with 5 Dookies each. But your team and my team, Atlanta, are both on the list of the most drafting teams when it comes to Blue Devils.
Yeah, you see now you got me thinking Cherokee Parks. We definitely drafted him too. I'm just gonna.
You're going back through it in your head, aren't you?
I'm going back through to my head, and throughout the rest of this pod, I might just shout out random names, and that would be guys that we drafted. So so there we go. Jason, let's turn our attention to the other guy who was drafted, and that is Tyrese Proctor. Again, we thought it was going to be Sion James. We were going to be kind of sweating out towards the end of the draft, which is again just a couple more picks from being wrapped up, and it ended up being Tyrese Proctor. And it's funny in the chat that we have with Scott Rich, there was like hey, is he going to get drafted? And then in my other chat that I have with a couple of friends from college, it was like, yo, what's up with Tyrese? Is he not getting drafted? And I said, Tyrese is going to be fine. We just got to wait. I don't think it's going to be too much longer. And as soon as we said that, Beetlejuice, you say his name 3 times. He gets drafted number 49 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jason, I think the one thing that is notable about this is on the broadcast. He was basically drafted during a commercial break, which is so that means he's going to be Nikola Jokic now. He's the new Nikola Jokic. But after they came back from break, they focused on the fact that several teams apparently wanted to trade with Cleveland for that pick because that was kind of the cutoff of guys who they feel will make a roster and get a guaranteed contract. Cleveland said no. Cleveland said they had their guy at 49 and they wanted to get him, and that happened to be Tyrese Proctor. So I love the fact. I don't like the fact that it's Cleveland because I'm a Pistons fan. We just talked about this, but I do like the fact that Cleveland wanted Tyrese Proctor. They held their ground when other teams came calling for that pick, and they could have easily made a trade to fall back or even completely give up that pick for something else. And they said Tyrese is our guy, and for a team that won close to 60 games last year and was number one in the East, that adding him, that means there's not a lot of pressure for him, but also it feels like because of the NBA Development Academy experience, they knew about Tyrese Proctor all along, and they were just waiting for the right time to get him.
Yeah, so here's the situation in Cleveland that Tyrese walks into, because ordinarily, you were alluding to this a little bit, but I want to make sure folks really understand this. Ordinarily, the 49th pick, he'd be looking at a two-way contract. And like I said earlier, $700,000 a year, non-guaranteed. You're spending a lot of the year in the G League. Cleveland has a couple free agents, Javonte Green and especially Ty Jerome, and it's going to be very, very difficult. Both those guys are wings, they're guard wings. They're very similar in terms of the position they play to Tyrese Proctor. And Cleveland doesn't think they're going to be able to bring both those guys back because Cleveland's cap situation, they're at the second apron. It's all the salary cap is a very complicated thing. I'm not going to get into the 10-minute explanation of why, but signing Ty Jerome, especially, who had a very good year in Cleveland, almost impossible for the Cavs to do. So the Cavs know they have a spot for a guy to play on the wing, to play, like point guard / shooting guard for them. And they identified Tyrese Proctor as the guy that they wanted to do this. And, they went ahead and got him at 49. They may have been a little bit lucky that he stuck around there. There's talk that I've heard that Tyrese's agent was talking to Cleveland, and that Cleveland explained to him, look, this is going to start calling and talking to you guys. Put him off, because this is a better situation. We're going to guarantee him a deal. From my understanding is that Tyrese Proctor is going to get a multi-year guaranteed contract, very similar to what I was talking about with Sion James. So even though Tyrese goes 15 picks later, 19 picks into the second round, for all intents and purposes, he's going to get the same kind of deal, same kind of money that you're probably going to see from all the guys in the first 5, 7, or 8 picks of the second round. That is a great deal for Tyrese Proctor. And even though I'm sure he had some terrible, nervous moments sitting there looking at his TV screen and seeing that he was Jay Billis's best for like 7 picks in a row, he was the best available guy, and he wasn't going. I know that was painful. I know that was no fun for him at all. The end of the road is it's probably going to be, my understanding, a 2-year guaranteed contract for Tyrese. That is a very good situation for a second round draft pick. And he bet on himself by not coming back to college. I'm going to go ahead and say it. It has worked. If he gets this guaranteed deal, it has worked out very nicely for Tyrese Proctor.
Sidebar, Luke Kennard. Back to Tyrese Proctor. I think the one thing that...
Wait, what does that mean, sidebar Luke Kennard?
Luke Kennard. I told you I'm just going to be doing Detroit draft picks. Luke Kennard.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about contracts and stuff. I'm like, Luke Kennard was
sorry,
you're doing Detroit Pistons. My bad.
Yeah.
You're doing Detroit Pistons. Keep going. I apologize.
Dick Groat. So we have the fact that, Tyrese Proctor, I think the one thing that you and I talked about last month during the NBA Draft Combine is that he was not participating in those 5-on-5s. And it's interesting that he decided not to, and we kind of speculated that it was because he got at least enough information to say, you're good. We've seen what we need from you. A bunch of teams are at least interested, and someone was going to get him. That probably was Cleveland. On the other hand, we said that Sion James not only played in those scrimmages, but dominated in those scrimmages. It was a guy that had a lot of people talking. And we were saying, hey, if you're going to, put Sion James in a workout or bring him in against and say, hey, play these guys. And you said, our money is on Sion James every single day of the week and twice on Sunday, because we know how that guy can compete. And we know that all he wants is the opportunity to show that he can be that guy. Look what happens. He jumps all the way up to the very top of the second round. I think that is interesting when you look at how this transpired. And look, I'm so happy for Tyrese. I'm so happy for Sion. The two guys, again, they're going to be joining their teams. They're probably going to go straight into Summer League because that starts in like a week. And Look,
crazy.
It's crazy, right? But at the same time, those two guys on the floor in Vegas or San or Sacramento or wherever they do the summer league, man, I cannot wait to see them play because again, that competitive fire, those guys always had it. And when the lights are brightest, those two guys shined throughout all of it. And on a team of stars, everyone knew Tyrese Proctor was going to get the ball. He was going to make shots. Everyone knew Sion James was going to contribute on both offense and defense. And add that to the other guys who were drafted last night. 5 for 5. I have it on my on my phone here, a picture of the starting 5 of Duke University for 24-25. All 5 of them are going to most likely receive guaranteed contracts, multi-year contracts in the NBA after being drafted in the 2025 NBA draft. Jason, I can't be prouder than that.
It's unbelievable that this has happened for these guys, that the smartest basketball scouts in the world, because that's what the NBA is, have recognized what a special, unbelievable team Duke had last year. I'm of the belief that all these guys elevated each other. I'm of the belief that the way they played together, the way they played defense together, the way they played offense together, showed NBA teams these are the kind of players who will make the players around them better. And every team wants a guy like that, whether it be a guy who you expect to be one of your top 2 or 3 players, like Cooper Flagg, eventually going to be your number 1 player, or whether it be a guy like a Sion James or a Tyrese Proctor, who's probably a little bit deeper in your rotation. You want a guy who's a positive influence in the locker room. You want a guy who's going to work hard, competes, want to win the right kind of way. You want guys like the guys who play at Duke.
And it's so great that we get to watch them at the next level. Again, all of them end up on team. I haven't checked on the Cavs yet, but at least the other guys end up on teams with multiple Blue Devils. So multiple reasons for you to watch those particular teams, not just see those 5, but to see other guys from the Brotherhood play. This is what this is for. This is what this is all about.
Yeah, and you think John Shire's not out in the recruiting trail this summer, mentioning the fact, you come start for Duke, guaranteed a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year deal in the NBA. Don't worry about it, man. That's saying something.
Forget all that. I want to know who on this particular next year's team, right? Last year it was Con Knipple who saw the NBA draft and saw our guys go, and he goes, I can do that. And look where he went, number 4 in this year's draft. Who on this year's team, this next team coming up, is going to look at this draft and say, all 5 starters ended up getting drafted? That could be me. I don't need to be a starter, but I can be that guy who can compete, help my team win, hopefully bring a 6th championship banner to Cameron Indoor Stadium, and in the process set myself up for the next level. That is what coming to Duke is all about. That's why we love this team so much, and that's why all these guys are at Duke, is to make something better and bigger than themselves. Let's take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to conclude our NBA draft coverage with some general thoughts about the overall draft. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
All right, summer is here. More sun, more light, more time to do all the things that make summer so special. And the number one thing that you don't want to be doing all summer, spending hours cooking inside. That is where Factor comes in.
That's right, Jason. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. With 45 weekly menu options, you could pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. It's easy to savor more this summer. Factor meals pack in the flavor with none of the fuss. You can get outside instead of prepping and cooking indoors.
Man, that sounds really good. Get started, folks, at factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off. Use the code DukeBB50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That code again, DukeBB50 off at factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off.
The Disney Plus Hulu Max bundle. It's the ultimate bundle for an unbelievable price. Plans starting at $16.99 a month. Get it and watch Marvel Television's Ironheart on Disney Plus.
I want to build something iconic.
A new season of The Bear on Hulu.
We can make people happy.
And The Epic, a Minecraft movie on Max.
Anything you can imagine is possible.
The Disney Plus Hulu Max bundle. Plans starting at $16.99 a month. All these and more now streaming. Terms apply. Visit Disney Plus Hulu Max Bundle.com for details.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
My day kicks off with a refreshing Celsius energy drink, then straight to the gym. Pre-K pickup, back home to meal prep. Time for my fire station shift. One more Celsius, gotta keep the lights on. When the 3-alarm hits, I'm ready. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
After Zoomies at the dog park, it's time for Drive Up at Target. In goes a big bag of kibble and one squeaky chicken toy for the good boy. Drive Up that's ready when you are, only in the Target app. Just tap Target.
All right, we are back, and Jason, we want to, as I mentioned, conclude our NBA draft coverage by just talking about general thoughts of the NBA draft, and in the spirit of Larry Saunders, another Dookie that was drafted by the Pistons. I will turn it to you. What do you got from this draft? There's a lot to kind of talk about, and it feels like there's a lot we can nitpick about with regards to the NBA draft and how it can be better.
Yeah, I want to mention, and I know you want to talk about this as well. ESPN's coverage of the draft, they just need to find a way to breathe some more life into this. First of all, I will tell you that it feels to me they have a lot of NBA analysts. They got a lot of guys who really know the league. I think they could use some more guys who know the players. Jay Billis is sort of their person to know the players. Frankly, there have been some of the times I've heard some of these guys talking about some of these players, and I'm like, did you watch that guy play? That's not who you're talking about. Especially on the second night, it really felt like the B team. It did not feel like guys who were really plugged into what's going on in quite the same, or certainly guys who are not as charismatic. And then I want to mention something else. I should have mentioned this earlier when we were talking about Sion James. After Sion was drafted and Ryan Kalkenbrenner were both drafted by the Charlotte Hornets, they put up a graphic on screen showing the 4 players drafted by the Charlotte Hornets this year. They were focusing on Charlotte. Charlotte had back-to-back picks in the second round. They showed Khan. They showed Liam McNeely. They showed Ryan Kalkenbrenner. And then they showed some random dude, I still don't know who it is, and they put Sion James's name underneath it. I don't know who that guy was. I don't know what was going on. But ESPN, can you please label your graphics properly so you don't choose some random other person and pretend like it's Sion James? Biggest moment. I'm going to say it right now. As big a season as Sion James had, as important as like the Final Four was and stuff like that, biggest moment in his life right now to this point is getting drafted. And on the biggest moment of his life, when he had a party with like 100 folks there celebrating, popping bottles and stuff like that, ESPN puts up a graphic that shows some random other person who is not Sion James and labels it Sion James. ESPN, I work in television. If I did that, I get fired. Someone at ESPN needs to get fired, or ESPN needs to figure out a way to get the right person with the right graphic. Don't ruin Sion James's moment by showing some other random dude who was not picked 33rd.
The guy that they showed was Steve Vandenberg, who was a Detroit Duke pick. Was
it really? No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. But I just used that to throw another name in there. I got like 3 more to go, Jason. So
okay, go. Yeah,
when they come in. No, but I think when it comes to the draft, right? Like the first thing is, and someone pointed this out. You mentioned that they have a lot of NBA guys, and they split the coverage night 1 between ABC and ESPN. ESPN, where most people turn to, and I get ABC is the antenna TV channel, But most people for the NBA draft, they never said, "Hey, this is going to be on ABC." They always say it's going to be on ESPN. So people
I didn't
turn
even
to
know
ESPN.
until you said this. I didn't know it was on ABC. I went to
Yeah,
ESPN.
that's why you didn't see
I
Stephen A. And but the other thing is, like Bob Myers is a GM. He was a former GM for that constructed the Golden State Warriors, and
Yep.
they had him kind of on the bench on ABC while again talking about when there's times where you can kind of go, hey, what are the Suns doing when they draft Kamen Malawach and Shams Kanadria had hell trying to pronounce Kamen's name all night long. But like you have that, and then they had again the Mark Williams trade, and what you needed was not a college person and Jay Billis to talk about what that meant. And Jay goes back and forth, and he did a great job doing that because he's the one guy that does college and does the NBA. But that was a great time to have a general manager on there to say, why would someone do this? Why would you have a roster of 6 wings and 2 centers? And what are these pieces going to mean as they kind of fill out a roster? And he was just kind of not present for that conversation. And that's where again you can kind of use the analysts that you have to your advantage. Like you said, bring in some of the college guys like they do in the NFL draft. The NFL draft is 3 days. It's like 75 billion hours long, and you can't take your eyes off of it because there's always someone talking about some guy from Savannah State or some guy from Valdosta State or some guy from the University of Michigan, and they talk about them like they're the next big thing, and they make it where you as a fan who may not be a fan of the Packers are like, wow, the Packers really got a good pick here, right? Because that's how they are able to spruce this up. I also get that they talk about the NFL draft for like 9 months outside of the actual 3 days of the draft. So there's that as well. But the NBA next year has to figure out a way to make it where it's a little bit more lively. Again, give the players their moments, make it where it centers around those players. There was a lot of times where a player would get drafted and they would just start talking about someone else that wasn't drafted. So
yeah, it was very weird. Yeah,
there's a lot of that sort of thing that I think they can clean up. I think again, I love Andrea Carter and what she has to say. Jay Billis, I thought that did a great job. I thought tonight was better because we had Bob Myers alongside Jay Billis, so Jay Billis could talk about the player and then go, "Hey, as a GM, where would you put him, or how would you surround this guy with additional talent?" And I think that play is what they need to hype up more.
Last thing I wanted to mention, and I'm going to give full credit to Gary Parrish of CBS Sports for this, because Gary spoke about this on his podcast today, the Iron College Basketball Podcast, which is a wonderful, wonderful wrap up of everything around college basketball, and they spend a lot of time talking about the draft. Gary mentioned something, and it really struck me. We have spent, in the case of some of these guys, years talking about them. Some of them, it's only been a few months as we've been really focused on the draft, but guys who have been huge stars in college, guys who we've been analyzing their draft prospects for a while. It is entirely possible that last night and tonight were functionally the last time we're going to say their names, because the NBA draft is a crapshoot. I guarantee you, Donald, I don't know for sure who's going to be an all-star, but I guarantee you there'll be, at least one guy in the lottery and at least 3 or 4 other guys in the first round, and probably 3/4 of the second round who are going to be out of the league in 3 or 4 years and who are, functionally not going to be part of an NBA rotation. That's just how it works. It just happens that way. I don't know. Was tonight when we talked about Janai Broom being drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers with the 35th pick, a guy who Janai Broom dominated college basketball. It was him and Cooper Flagg neck and neck for the most part for Player of the Year. It's entirely possible that tonight was the last time we thought about Janai Broom as a relevant college basketball player, a relevant basketball player. I just think that's, and I'm not predicting anything about that. I think the Sixers did a nice job. I think he's probably gonna do at least a decent job. But Chaz Lanier of Tennessee, Cam Jones of Marquette. I'm just looking through the second. Maxime Reynaud going 42nd out of Stanford. Maxime Reynaud was a hell of a college basketball player at Stanford. Set records at Stanford. This may have been the last time he's really relevant at all on the basketball stage. It's just kind of sobering to think about. It's entirely possible that Tyrese Proctor or Sion James may be like that. Who knows? I just hadn't thought about it until Parrish brought it up. Of course, it makes sense. I'm aware of it. I know that the hit rate once you get outside of the top 20 or so picks in the draft gets vanishingly small. And I know that they love to talk about, oh, Draymond Green went 35th. Oh, Nikola Jokic got drafted during a commercial with the 41st, 42nd pick, whatever it was. Those are the outliers. Most of the guys that go in the second round, especially, are going to struggle to be ninth or 10th man on their team. It's just the reality of how hard the NBA is. And I'll end it on a happy note. We got 5 Dukies getting guaranteed contracts, baby. That's pretty amazing.
Jason, I will say personally that Chaz Lanier is something that I'm going to remember because he was drafted by my Detroit Pistons. So I'm very excited about him. Just like I was 14 years before I was born when we drafted Doug Kistler, who was a Duke guy who got drafted by the Pistons. I got 2 left.
You're looking this stuff up. You're looking this stuff up.
Yeah, of course I am. But who do you think? Do you know who Bernie Janicki is? He's the other guy. There's
Janicki, yes, I've heard. Yes, I know him.
Yeah, he's a Pistons draftee. But I think the one thing, Jason, is it's interesting, right? The NFL goes through this. There's 282 guys that are drafted. We have Mr. Relevant for a reason, but there's guys from 1 to 262 or 267, whatever it is, that again we never hear about. The MLB draft has like 90 rounds. They're guys who never get above single A.
Am I correct? I think in the MLB they keep on drafting until teams go, I don't have anyone else I want to take. I'm serious.
It feels like it, right? The Pistons, the Detroit Tigers have arguably the best draft pick who has won the most trophies of any baseball player so far. And his name is Patrick Mahomes II. Because Patrick Mahomes was drafted by the Tigers and decided, I want to do this football thing. And look how that turned out. So, you have those sort of stories in Major League Baseball. NHL is similar, where you got guys who are stashed all around the world. And I think the one thing about the NBA that makes it special is that when someone gets drafted, as we mentioned this year, there's only 59 picks because the Knicks had to forfeit a pick for tampering. And so it's not even 60 picks, it's 59. Going into a league of 30 teams and 15 players on each team. And that's not a lot of spots. And right now, there is 59 guys who are coming in, and there's, again, another 60 or 70 that already have spots that are fighting to keep them because they know 59 guys are coming in to try and take one of them, and it's not going to be theirs. And so you have that special, fraternity that they're joining. And yeah, it could be the last time we hear some of these names, and that's probably true. Some of these, international guys who were kind of draft and stash kind of guys, we may not hear from them for years. And then there could be guys that we will look back 10 years from now and go, man, remember that person was picked, 33rd in the NBA draft? Like, man, people were stupid. We say it all the time about Nikola Jokic, right? Like, so there's going to be people who are going to surprise. There's going to be people who are destined for stardom and actually achieve it. And we hope all of our guys are able to do that. Jason, one last thing before we get out of here. We got an email from somebody. His name is Michael White. We got an email from him. He is over in Munich, Germany, which, first of all, I am very jealous about. But he witnessed the final game of the German league's or German championship, the finals that they have. And Bayern Munich won. So congratulations to the Brotherhood, Jack White, who is now a 2-time champion. He got one with the Nuggets, and now he has a not a European champion, but a German championship with Bayern Munich. And I thought that was pretty cool, that he's in Munich to catch that and was able to see Jack White. And also it's good to see Jack White continue to thrive. I mean, Jason, we talked about when he graduated from Duke, he graduated into COVID. He didn't get a chance to really finish out his year at Duke because of that. He went back home to Australia. He played a couple years there and then finally was able to make his way onto the Nuggets at the very right time when they win a championship, and has used that and is still playing and still doing well and still winning. So we're really, really happy to hear about that. And thank you, Michael, for that email. And again, ladies and gentlemen, throughout the summer, if you have stories like that, if you have questions for the pod, dbrpodcast@gmail.com. We also, Jason, have the survey. We're still hovering around 1,300 responses, but anything you want to add about the survey I think we should probably close it in a week or two. Huh?
I was going to say, yeah, now that the draft is behind us, we're going to spend some time in the next week or so really going through the survey and giving you guys the result. It'll probably be multiple episodes that we'll be presenting some of these. We'll also go to the Duke Basketball Report, not to be confused with the Duke Basketball Roundup. The Duke Basketball Report, we'll be giving them the results. They'll be able to publish it on their main page so you can see some of the results of the survey there. Some fascinating stuff in that. It's going to take us a few episodes to give it all to you folks. But hey, that's what the summer is for. Summer content, baby. We love it. But you're all going to be finding some really interesting answers by all 1,300, whatever, however many is who have filled out this survey. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, and again, one of the questions is who is the NBA player who has done, or I'm sorry, the Duke player who's done the best in your mind, the best NBA career, and one of those answers is Jason, the final Detroit Dookie, and that is Grant Hill. Save the best for last. So you can vote for Grant Hill, you can vote for Shea Batty, you can vote for whoever you want. And if they are not on this list, hit that other button, and then you tell us who your actual best player is, who your best team is, and of course the why, because we want to hear why some of these answers are. And we've gotten some great answers to some of these questions. I don't know, there's really a lot of surprises when it comes to the thing, but we'll leave it here, and we will let you fill that out over the next week or so, because then Jason and I can go through it. We can compile all the results and bring it to you as quickly as we possibly can, probably a little bit after the 4th of July holiday. We are going to be taking a break, at least for the weekend, so Jason can go to Disney, but we will leave it here on this episode of the Duke Basketball Roundup. Thank you as always for listening. Jason, enjoy the weekend. All of you out there, enjoy your weekend. And it's now time for the Duke Band to play us out and take us home.